Hi there, Plant Girl here. It's a beautiful day. We're on the cusp of June here. It's May 30th. And I have been working away in the yard, trying to get everything, ticked up and ready for the summer season. But I still have a few more things left to do. If you've been following my channel for a while, you know that I grow a lot of flowers from seed, and I still have several that need to be planted up. I've gotten quite a few planted out in the ground there, and a few more over back that way. But I have more that I want to put in pots, and I really need to just get them out of their little plant trays and get them potted. I also have a few that I've stopped by garden centers and picked plants up and spent money on them, so I really don't want to let those get dried out and go to waste. And the weather is starting to heat up around here, so it's time to get their roots into some better soil and get them in better conditions. So that's the name of the game today. I've kind of set everything up back in front of the shed there. I'm hoping it'll be a little bit shadier for a little while anyways, because it's warm and humid and hot out here right now already, and it's not even noon. But I just would like to try and get as many pots filled up and done as I can. I'm not sure I have enough soil to do them all, but we'll kind of get started on it. So I've started to gather things up, a couple more pots to grab and bring over. And I thought I'll just kind of bring you through. I don't know how interesting this is going to be to everybody, but I like to see people put pots together and how they decide to put what flowers together. So I thought I'll just throw a bunch together, and I'll probably not go through each of them individually because I think that would be way too much video, but I'll go through them in the end maybe and show you what they look like and what I put in them. So I have a couple more pots to grab from by the greenhouse there. There's a few there, and bring them over, and then we'll be ready to go. Okay, so over there is most of what I want to get potted and planted and done today. I still have a few more flowers over. Oh, look at my ranunculus and the pansies. Aren't those stunning? I had no idea it was all yellow in that pot with the purple pansies. It looks beautiful. This one looks like it's going to be a combination of yellow ranunculus and looks like a pink one just popping out there. Anyway, I still have this whole tray here of plants that I want to do out. I'm not sure I want this purple bacopa in there. I think that was supposed to be a white one. Take that with us. But otherwise, that's going in my front yard. And then I have a few more perennials and things that need to get planted out. And maybe I'll get that herb container potted up today. So let's take this purple bacopa, go over by the shed where it's a little shadier, try and get some of those other pots planted up. And at least that'll be most of these little flowers out of their little containers. Gotta have somewhere to dig, right, Wes? You went through. Did I fill up your shady spot? So most years I have a plan in mind of what I'm gonna do with all these plants. Buster, you gonna sit here with me? That's fine. You want room? So most years I have a plan of where I'm going to put these plants, at least in the pots for sure. I usually kind of have drawn up a plan, have an idea of how I want to put my pots together. But this year I really didn't do any of that. Buster just can't decide where the coolest spot is in the yard today. So I need to kind of just go through and look at what I have and try to put some things together here. But I do have these, there's two pots here. I don't know if you can see them different from the rest. But these, two of these blue pots here, and I had put these both inside in a storage facility that's heated, but not kept overly hot, we'll say. Like, I think it was usually 20 Celsius or cooler, which certainly isn't cold, but isn't hot either. And I really didn't have high hopes for them, but I was just thought it was interesting to see how they would turn out. There's a big window, but it is in a basement area, so they weren't getting a ton of light. No one really uses that space, so it wasn't getting like overhead lighting or anything, but there was some light coming in from an east window. And what is in here is there was some lantana, I believe. I left the tags in. So two types of lantana. One was orange and one was peach, and a coleus that's called lime, and then orange dreamsicle dahlias. So it was just something to just see what would happen with it over the winter. And the dahlias have both come back. So one is quite small, and in this other pot here, it's quite a large dahlia. And then this is lantana. Yeah, definitely lantana. Lantana has a real kind of a citrusy kind of smell to the leaves. So I don't know which lantana has come back or if it's even the same one in either pot. I was hoping the coleus would kind of stick around, but it doesn't seem to have done that, so that's okay. But so I'm just going to leave the dahlia and the lantana alone, and I'm just going to plant around these plants in these pots here. So that's where I'm going to start. I'll put a little bit of fresh soil in here because it's kind of sunk down, and I'll pick a few plants out of my collection here and we'll plant these up. So the orange dreamsicle is a real kind of poppy kind of red orange. It's not a huge dahlia, at least not for what I've had grow here. And either one of these lantanas is going to be kind of yellow leaning to either orange or kind of a peachy pink color. So I'll try and look through my things and see what I have that kind of goes with these, and I'll try and make them match a little bit, chop up the soil a little bit, and we'll start with these two pots. Okay, so I set the pots back against the shed. I think you can see them a bit better that way. And what I decided to do was put some of this beautiful blue lobelia in. You can see it in a whole tray here. It's like a bluey purple, but it's more blue. It doesn't show up on the camera as blue as much, but like, these pots are blue. Yeah, in the camera it looks like purple almost, but it really is like one of the closest flowers to blue that I've seen. And I wish I could tell you the exact variety, but unfortunately, this lobelia I thought was collected bacopa seed. It was lobelia when it started to grow. I was like, that's lobelia. So anyways, I put 3 of those in each of these pots, and then a purchased bacopa. This one doesn't really have flowers on it right now. Here. So bacopa does kind of get these dried up flowers on it, and you can kind of knock them off. It's the only drawback, but it has these really nice flowers, nice little white flowers. It adds a pop of color. So we'll see how these go. This dahlia is a lot bigger and a lot healthier look. Well, they both look healthy, but this one's a lot bigger and filling in the pot better. This one's just a very small little specimen. So we'll see how they do now that they're kind of potted up and they're going to be put out and watered more regularly. I put a little bit of fertilizer in these pots. It was the last little bit in my bag, and since I was reusing the soil that was in these pots from the year before and just topping up with a bit of fresh soil, I thought putting a little bit of fertilizer that can work its way down to the roots was probably a good idea. And it'll be interesting to see if this lantana that overwintered is the same one in both pots, or if it was 2 different varieties that overwintered for me. But I'm excited to have these, and they should be getting full apart sun. They'll get morning sun for sure, and depending on where they wind up, they may get some afternoon sun as well. These plants can all handle that, and the more sun the better for the most part here. The lobelia really would prefer something a little bit cooler, but since we still get usually fairly cool at night, you know, down into the low teens or even cooler, even in our summer. That usually works out all right for them as long as they're getting adequate water. So these plants are all going to want to be watered quite regularly, and I'll put them up close to the house where I see them all the time and remember to do that. So I think that's the white and the blue, and then having these kind of purple, these orange yellow kind of colors come in. I think this is going to have a lot of high contrast and look really exciting out on the deck. So get these out of the way, and I have two more big blue pots similar to this, so we'll see what we can find to maybe complement them but not be exactly the same. Okay, so here's what I've come up with for these next set of pots. You can see it's the same blue pot as I just planted up, same style, same size, and I'm going to put the bottom, I'm going to underplant with some Acidanthera. So these are a small flowering bulb, and even though this one hasn't shot up any leaves yet, it probably still will. I believe they're related to gladiolus. They have that same kind of tall, spiky leaf kind of look, but then they get almost like a lily type flower, a cluster of them at the top. They're white with a purple throat. They're beautiful. And I've just had them pre-sprouting in these trays here. So some of them have sprouted, some of them haven't. And I have, it looks like about a dozen, so I'll probably put 6 clustered right close together in the center of these pots. And then I have the Sunny Reggae dahlia. This I started from seed, and it's supposed to be different shades of oranges and apricots, and I think maybe some reds. So that'll be really nice when these come along here. They're looking good right now. Just because I need somewhere to put them, I have some poinsettias actually, so they don't look like much. These I had in the winter, obviously over Christmas is when we usually have poinsettias here, and I've never tried to carry them over from year to year before, but I decided to give it a try this year, and several of the sites that I read suggested planting them out over the summer, and they should grow green leaves and just be kind of a green backdrop plant. I don't know how big they're actually going to get, but I don't think it should get too much bigger than it is now. So I'm hoping that in here it doesn't take up too much room, and it just gives it somewhere to live where it's going to get lots of watering and fertilizer and things, and grow well and healthy, and just kind of be a spot to hold it over. And then when I take this pot apart, just like the dahlia, hopefully we'll have produced a tuber and I can save it. I can take the poinsettia in and do the dark treatment that they need, but I'm not an expert in that. I'm not going to get into that, but that's what it's doing in here. And then I have these beautiful double calibrachoas. These are yellow. I purchased these, what are they called? Mini Famous Neo Double Deep Yellow, and they are just gorgeous. So I'll put one of those over here, and then again 2 of those same lobelia that I planted in the other pots. So I think these will complement the first set of pots that I did quite well, but they will be different, and they'll go in a similar area and to get similar light conditions. I had looked at maybe putting one of these Dusty Miller in. I think I'll put the Acidanthera in instead, and I think that will look better with these plants here. I had also looked at some Candyman Orange Calendula, but again, we'll save that for somewhere else. Oh, there, 2 more pots and more plants. So I'll put these in their spot, and then we'll see what else I can put together here today. Okay, so for these next pots, I don't know if you can see this one, but I have 3 pots. They're just a plastic pot, kind of a creamy gray kind of tones to the pot. I've had them for years. They've stood up really well. They're about I don't know, 12 inches, 30 centimeters up and across, just to give you an idea of how big they are. And I think what I'm going to do is I have these Eskimo marigolds. These are a pale yellow. They're supposed to be white, but they're really a pale yellow marigold, and they get quite large. I'm going to kind of put them towards the back. And then they don't look like much right now, but I think once they get in a better container and have more consistent watering and more room for the roots, they'll do better. These are Candyman Orange Calendula. They also get to a pretty good size, bright yellow blooms on them, blending to orange, hence the name. Double blooms. They're very pretty, very showy. I'll put a couple of those in. I have, what's the variety here? Silver Dust. So this is Silver Dust Dusty Miller that I grew from seed as well. All of these, everything in this pot is what I've grown from seed. So you can see how lobed the leaves are. They're almost like a ferny leaf to them, and very white, dusting, silvery look on them. I think that'll look nice with these other colors. And then these are also lobelia. Now this is White Lady lobelia. I grew these from seed, and so they were just in a small plug tray. But as soon as they get their roots out, they are going to get much larger and take off and really float over the sides of the pots. So I think I'll kind of alternate the lobelia and the Dusty Miller, and I think I'll actually put the marigold towards the middle maybe, and then I'll put the Candyman Orange Calendula together at the back. I think the sun should hit this from all sides. I think these will wind up going up on my deck. If not, they'll go around my fire pit area. So either way, they'll get full sun, and I think this will look the best for this container combination here. There. I think those will make a really nice little grouping. I'm excited to see them grow and see how this combination goes together. Okay, so the last pots I'm going to do are going to be these two. I have two of these blue pots here, and they're pretty small. They're like maybe 10 inches across, maybe 10 inches high, maybe more like 8 high. So they're not a huge pot. But I'm going to put them beside these cream pots that I have here. And I have more of these, so I'm not sure. I may rise them up, flip one upside down with some rocks or something in it and put it on top. I'm not sure, but we're going to try it like this for now and see what I think. But I just thought it might be a nice kind of pop of color accent beside this big cream pot, which needs to be washed. I don't know if I've shown you these cream pots in a video. I can't remember if I showed this or not. So it has the Crazy Love Dahlia, some Bunny-tails grass. This is a verbena. It was just in a random mix from Costco actually. So I have just one on the one side. Then I have Scaeviola. That's this kind of purple flower over here. On this side, I have Euphorbia. Which one is this? Just says white. Oh, Breathless. So it's just to give some airiness in the middle. I believe these petunias, I grew these from seed. I believe they were called Purple Vein. I'll see if I can find a tag for you and put it on the screen. They're very pink, they're very pretty. I love the color of them. And then this is the Margarita sweet potato vine that I grew off a tuber that I saved over the winter. And they're filling in really nicely. They've been planted up for about a week or so. So I thought just some kind of pops of pinks, maybe a bit of purple in here, white, just something kind of light and colorful, just like these are, just to give that little another layer down here towards the doors. So we'll see how this works out. I have this Bidens or Biddens, I'm not sure how you say it. I've only ever seen this in yellow, I'm sure, before, and I saw these pinks. They need to be deadheaded a bit, but I just couldn't resist them at the garden center. This is called Danziger, pretty in pink. I don't know, Danziger might be the company that grew these, I'm not sure. So they'll take up most of the room in these pots. I was thinking about putting Dusty Miller in here with them, but I think that might be too much. We'll see. And then I wish I had two of these. This is a pretty purple bacopa, but it doesn't look like it can be divided. Sometimes you can divide these plants. I was kind of hoping for that, but it can't be. So I think I'm gonna go with, I have some plugs of Crystal Palace lobelia, and I think I'll put a couple of these in and maybe one more white lady just around the bottom. And I think that'll be enough once this gets sunk down in the pot. Just be that next level. And I have these Nemesia that I purchased. I was going to plant some things up early this spring, and they can handle more cool weather, but our weather just was more than just cool this spring and then went to summer. So this area here gets afternoon sun, morning shade, but I think back in here, if I put one of these towards the back in each pot, they're not the same color, but I think I'll still do that just to use them, and they smell amazing. And the shade from the pots here and the plants in front of them, might help them to stay a little bit cooler in the root zone at least. And we'll see how long they last doing that, but I think I'll just pop those in. And I think that will make these pots full enough. So there's the first one. The white lady lobelia is pretty sad. I don't think it'll actually grow, but I put 3 of the Crystal Palace. There's one of the white Nemesia, and there's that pink Bidens in there. So I think that's really pretty and more than enough flowers for that little pot. So I'm just going to do the other one up the same, except that the Nemesia will be this pink one, but they smell so nice. There's number 2. So I'll put these in place and give you a look at where they wound up. Okay, so let's start back here. I think you should be able to tell that there's quite a bit less for plants sitting here waiting to get planted. I do have a few pots that have some spring plants like ranunculus and that in it that'll need to be freshened up in the next month or so here. So I think those petunias, there's kind of that dark pinky purple there, those will definitely go in there. I have some calibrachoa sitting in the back there. So some of that'll go there. The one pot over there is my herbs that still need to get planted. I have some false indigo and nicotiana that needs to go in the ground. And that's supposed to be poppies right there, but man, they just keep drying out on me. I don't know, it's not my year for poppies, that's for sure. But I got most of that cleaned up there. Down a few more trays of plants, so that's good because they'll be happier planted up. And then there is where those blue pots wound up in beside those shorter blue pots that I did last, in beside those big cream pots there. And like I said, I'm gonna give them a minute and just decide if I'm okay with that scale, or if I need to lift them up on something or just put them somewhere else altogether. But for now, that's the plan for them. And sometimes you just have to live with something for a minute and decide if you like how you did it or if you need to change it. So that's what those look like. And then right here is where those kind of creamy gray planters wound up here. This is up on my deck. I think that's pretty obvious, but I think, it'll take a minute for the flowers to get going. That'll bring a pop of color in there, but I think when they do, they'll be really nice. Just a sneak peek, I have just some pots lined up here with snapdragons and ranunculus. Those won't last too long once the heat comes, but it'll be fun to see them bloom and color up. I have a ranunculus ready to color there. Down here on the patio, here's a buster. So this is one of the first two pots that I did here with that already had the lantana and the dahlia in it. It's right here for now. Again, I'm not sure. The walkway from through the yard up onto the patio is right there. We'll see if that gets to be in the way. I often bump it back into the mulched area there a bit, but it gets more sun up where it is. So I thought I'd just start it with it there, and we'll see. And the other one is back in this corner. And that's the other one that had the lantana and dahlia in it. So you can see they're looking a little droopy. I need to get some water on them. I haven't watered the pots yet, but I'll get to that. And then the last ones are over. You can see one in that corner there. There's my fire pit area. There's my spring pots you may have seen. I think that was a shorter video that I did there, just with some ranunculus and flowering cabbage and pansies. That one can take frost, but here's the other pot that I planted today. So it's in the shade right now. It'll definitely get morning sun, and as the sun comes around in the afternoon, it should get more afternoon sun again as well. So I think this will look nice. So this one again had the dahlia and the poinsettia, and it has the acinanthera that's going to come out the middle there, calabricoa, and the lobelia. So I think those will look really nice and colorful when they're done. So I'll be taking care of these pots by making sure that they stay fairly evenly moist. They can dry out a little bit, each of these, but most of these flowers would prefer to be regularly watered, so they'll be getting watered at least once a day. And when it gets really hot out in the summer, they'll be drying out over the afternoon. I'll be watering them again, you know, in the afternoon at some point. And then I try to remember to be on top of a liquid fertilizer about once a week with my containers. So these are all of these plants would like full sun or part sun at the least there. They don't want to be in a shade situation. So like I said, this one here looks, well, the one that's behind the dog now, looks like it's in full shade, but really it will get sun a lot of the day. So thanks for coming along with me while I get some more of my annuals potted up, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye. Did you decide to come be in the video? You saw me sit down? You see me sit down? Yeah.